In this episode of Fix It Bong Bong, I show you how to replace an upper ball joint. Once you got the car properly jacked up and supported, you want to go ahead and take off the tire here. So the whole point of a ball joint is to allow the tire to pivot not only side to side, but in and out as the suspension flexes up and down. And in this particular truck, there's actually two, an upper and a lower. Now if you look close at this tire, you'll notice uneven wear on the inside edge of the tire. It's actually more bald than the outside edge. And what that tells me is, over time, the tire is starting to kind of contact the road at an angle or at negative camber, as opposed to being completely flat or having the contact patch flat on the road. So symptoms of failing or worn out ball joints, typically from inside the vehicle or even outside, you'll notice you'll hear clunking noises or kind of wandering or loose suspension or steering. So a good way to test to see if your ball joints are worn is to take your tire or rotor and just try to move it in and out, up and down. And you'll see in this particular instance there's quite a bit of play, looks like with the upper joint here. And here's just another shot of the amount of play I have with the upper joint here. So we know that this joint actually needs to be replaced. So we'll go ahead and get started on that. Alright, so first up here we're going to actually remove your cotter pin. I'm not in the way of the camera. Aha! Alrighty, now you got the cotter pin off, you can take off the castle nut on the bottom. I'm using a breaker bar. Pretty easy. Alright. Alrighty, so I've showed you this trick before. To remove the ball joint, which is kind of pressed into this bottom piece right here, we're just going to use a big ass hammer, and I'm going to pry up on this guy right here just to help it along. Ta-da! Alright, now we got the spindle thing off. This is the worn ball joint. Definitely should not have this much play. So the danger here is if you suspect your ball joints are bad, if one were to break or separate, I mean, it would, your whole wheel would come off, or maybe not necessarily come off, but you'd lose control of your vehicle because your upper attachment point is no longer connected. So again, if you at any point suspect worn ball joints or really worn any suspension parts, safety equipment, you should always check it out or have a professional check it out. All that's left in this vehicle is just removing these four bolts. So here's the new ball joint. Notice how nice and tight that is. And the old one. Well, you can see how that's dangerous. So if I was driving down the highway, doot 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 doot, and all of a sudden bump, and that's separated, that'd be a bad day. So these are all the things you get with your new ball joint. You get a grease fitting, a new cotter pin, a new castle nut, and then all this mounting hardware here. Although it comes with split washers, I'm going to go ahead and opt to use some blue thread locker here because I don't trust I don't trust split washers. And sweet, now you're ready to install it in the truck. And one thing I want to note here is when you install the new boot, make sure she's pressed all the way in and actually sealed up on the ball joint. And once you have it installed in the truck, you can go ahead and install your grease fitting and everything else you need to actually fill it with grease. So it's pretty much just the reverse of the removal, and you're about ready to get back on the road. Alright, go ahead and snug these guys down. And just like anything important on a vehicle, make sure you use the manufacturer specified torque spec. So, before we attach the spindle to the ball joint, we'll make sure we got our new boot, our new cotter pin, and our new castle nut. Oh, one thing I like to do before getting this all squared up is I like to use a pick tool or something, insert into the ball joint lower, or the hole here, and just rotate it parallel to the body of the vehicle. That way I have a good access point to insert or remove the cotter pin later. Because if you get this all together and the whole access point's this way, or this way, you got the spindle or all this suspension crap behind. So again, I like to make sure it's parallel to the body here. Alright. Alright, now you got your castle nut. Castle nut torque to the proper spec. Go ahead and insert your cotter pin, and this is how I like to do them. So I always insert. Split it right down the middle. Have one part go over the top. Just tack that up. And I have the other back the other way. Alright. And the whole point is just to prevent the castle nut from backing itself out. So I think, so now we've got these torqued, we've got your castle nut torqued. It's time to install the grease fitting here on the top so that we can actually pump this thing full of some grease. Nice. Alright, there you go. There's your brand new upper ball joint. Make sure everything's torqued to spec. You add grease. And the last part of this job is taking your vehicle in for alignment. And that's it. Thanks for watching.